Hello, everyone, and welcome to the NORD podcast. This is a show where we're going to break down everything you need to know about your favourite personalities, your favourite players, all in one little hour portion. Now, we're going to get to the deep ends of all of their careers, all of their past topics, and all their past teams as well. I'm your host, CJ, and I'm here with our first guest in episode 1. It is Kasing. Welcome, Kasing.
Hello, guys.
How you doing? How's your day been?
Just usual day. Lovely scrims, lovely review. Can't be more blessed.
That's a good start. I guess it's a good start that you can't be more blessed. So, we're going to go over everything in your life, really, from the first start before you even started playing competitive to right now where you are in NORD, obviously. So, first off, how did you get into League?
So basically, I used to play Dota. I say competitively, but at the time I just played for fun with friends, and it just became, I don't know, it became more of my life rather. Like I was going college, I was, trying to balance out school and having fun on the side with my computer games or video games. And obviously, me coming from a Chinese background, it's very strict. I would have to basically study technically and do coursework and do homework technically and study more and study more and blah blah blah. But yeah, it's kind of just how I kind of got addicted to League after, because it's like if you're, how do I say it? You know the saying that anyway, that's kind of what happened with me. I was a smart kid basically that kind of just turned to the dark side of esports. And I love it.
I feel like a lot of us can kind of, relate to that a bit, turn into the dark side of esports. And then, the reason we're all here now is because we never kind of left the dark side, right? So, yeah. So you said obviously Dota and stuff was involved as well. So how did you kind of get introduced to like the competitive side of League then? Were you always kind of competitive when it came to games, or was it just like, okay, you managed to climb high in League and then it was like, what do I do now?
The thing is, competitive League was never really there up until like I started watching competitive League at the time, which was the Worlds. At the time, I think there was it was season 2 that I actually started playing competitively. It was mid season 2, and I think if I remember, who was the season 2 winners? Oh my god, I think it was TPA or something.
I think
Or
so.
was that season 3?
I don't know.
Or was that Azubu? Oh my god, bro, that would have been so long ago. I think it was TPA though, because basically the mid lane at the time he was from Hong Kong, and I was like, oh wow, someone from my country won worlds, and I say my country, but a fellow Mr. Hong Kong guy, and I basically thought, you know what, I can maybe make this viable in terms of gaming. And at the time, obviously, it's very flipped, right? It's not like, oh, at the time there were salaries, there were coaches, there were jobs, nothing was like that was set. It was just a placebo contract that you don't know if you're gonna get your money or not. Because I'm not joking, like one of my past teams that I basically was in, my salary was literally 50 euros. And you know what? I didn't even get that 50 euros in the end, you know? And I even had to pay my own trip,
Okay.
like flight. And at the
Oh,
time I was
really?
like, what,
Oh.
18, 19? And my brother was basically the one that basically kind of funded me. Um, these kind of land stuff. Obviously, after that, I had like a one bad experience, but that doesn't necessarily mean all my future organizations will be the same, right? Which is obviously one of the perks of esports. You kind of see the good in all of the bad. Even if there's one bad experience, it's probably like what, 5 other good experiences in
Yeah,
esports.
yeah.
So yeah, it was like pretty good overall. Like after that, I got into League because of, I don't know, I just didn't want to, do the whole UCAS application into personal statement, because I was literally like, I literally joined the LC EU LCS back then as a sub, and then they actually asked me to join the team, but I was just some random high elo solo queue player, literally. I played support, but
Yeah.
obviously a lot of people knew who I was, right? Because I was playing a lot. I was always top ranked, and when I say top ranked, I mean like within top 20 always. And a lot of people saw that as, you know what, this guy maybe has talent. It's kind of like when you look at rookies right now, if they're consistently getting top 10 challenger, that has to mean something, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Whether that rookie obviously is gifted in his sense that he's able to, be among the top ranked players, but as well as understanding what they can do, or how other people can kind of nurture that kind of person to become even better. And yeah, for me, I've always had the drive to kind of prove my parents wrong, because they never thought that I could be a pro player. They were like, you know what, you're playing a game for a living. That's a fucking joke. You know, look at your other cousins. They're going Oxford, they're going UCL, they're going Cambridge. Where the fuck are you going, you know?
Yeah.
And for me, I was going I was going to to BTech. That's where I was going.
But you ended
But
up in
no, no.
Berlin eventually.
I mean, yeah, eventually for sure, yeah. But I mean, at the time it was Cologne. That was where
Okay,
it was
yeah,
based
yeah,
in, and then it changed to Berlin later on. But yeah, no, no, no. It was all in all, I think my drive is what actually pushed me to be where I am today. Like even the fact that I'm even playing professionally right now, a lot of people would have said, you know what, when are you retiring? But this was like 5 years ago, 6 years ago. Literally 3 years, 4 years into my career, people would ask, "Oh, are you considering retiring soon? Are you retiring soon?" It's always the same question: are you retiring? And I feel like sometimes it gets a bit boring, right? Because obviously the intention isn't bad. People are just curious to know,
yeah,
and I get that. But sometimes I feel like, you wouldn't ask someone who's new to esports, "Hey, when are you gonna retire?" You know what? It's just
yeah,
it just feels weird in a sense. But I understand where they're coming from, because for some reason the public believe, when I say public, I mean the general esports like fan or viewer believes that once you've reached a certain age, somehow you can't play League anymore. When I feel like the older you are, the more experience you have, and depends on obviously the player, right? Some players just don't have time commitments. They just can't invest enough time into League to be able to make it their profession.
yeah. And there
You
is a
know?
bit of stigmatism, right, behind like age in league. When you reach the age of like 25, 26. We saw it with, I believe, X Smithy in the NALCS, where he reached a certain age and everyone was like, "Oh, you're washed up," blah blah blah. And yeah, do you feel like you've been playing for a while now? We're going to get into it all the way back to the start, but do you think there's something that you've done differently, like to keep playing this long? Does it feel normal? Like, surely it
Mhm.
just feels normal. That nothing's changed in your life to make you feel older, that kind of thing in terms of league.
I mean, I definitely would say I've matured. I've definitely grown up a lot. Like Kasing back then in season 3, season 4, he was not the best person to play with in solo queue, for example. I mean, I was a bit passive aggressive, but I'll make sure. It's like one of those ones where I want to make sure that they're triggered, for example, if I'm annoyed at someone or if I get annoyed. But that's the thing, right? My skill was good and I knew I was good. So it's like I felt kind of entitled to this kind of thing, which is what I
Okay.
see a lot of technically toxic players nowadays. They feel entitled that they can call other people bad, when in reality it's solo queue, right? Like you can call someone bad, but in the end you're still gonna have to play with them,
Yeah.
because they're in the same match as you. They're the similar rank to you. So it's like in the end I kind of took it upon myself to realize that, you know what, if I really want to make it there, I need to kind of change my approach. And then I started becoming much more better as a person. I started becoming a better teammate, a better like individual. Obviously this worked up until one point when I got to Worlds, because I made it my goal, right, when I joined H2K, for example, that I wanted to basically go to Worlds. Like I wanted to prove to people that a rookie can make it there. That
Yeah.
was all I needed. That was my own motivation, right? And I spent a lot of fucking hours. Like I had 4 accounts challenger, for example. Back then it was like that's a lot,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
800 LP, and it wasn't even like bought accounts. It was my own accounts, right? That I had. Obviously, 2 were given by Riot. One was my Smurf, but one was my own, and I managed to get all my accounts to challenger. And for me, that was like, that showed I was fucking, what's it called? I was motivated because I really wanted to get to Worlds, for example. But yeah.
Yeah. And Worlds is something that obviously you ended in eventually. We're going to go straight back to the start anyway before we get to, the golden
Yeah.
age of Kasing anyway. One of your first teams was Enemy back in
Mhm.
2013, 2012, 2013, who are a North American org. Back then there wasn't the LEC like we see it today, right? It was all open qualifiers, that kind of thing, where it was just a bit crazy.
Yep.
Roster just got put together, and it was like, okay, play in this tournament, and if it doesn't work, that's it. The roster's gone, right?
Yeah, yeah.
How did it kind of feel to play them open qualifier tournaments, like where people are just put together for a week or however long it was, and then a week later it's just gone?
I mean, the thing is, most of the time, it's just like, you have to think of it as this way, right? If you don't perform well, then it's just like you wasted your time, like what's the point of doing everything that you just did? But on the other hand, it's kind of like, oh, if you do well, then you can maybe get something out of this, right? Whether it's better salary or bonus, whatever,
Yeah.
or just more exposure. Like, I think exposure was the biggest one back then because there was no Twitter, there was no social media for you to be like, oh, I'm blah blah blah, I'm looking for team, and people somehow know you who you are. No, no, no. Like you had to prove in other ways how good you are. And back then it was kind of like word of mouth of what players found you good. Like if in solo queue, you were consistently outperforming players who were technically playing in the LCS back then. Like I remember outlaning Xpeke, as because I was maining mid before. Like I would actually win mid, but I was one of those players that would play like weird champs, right? I played
Okay.
Soraka mid, I played Morgana mid, like these kind of mids. I would play Katarina, I would play Syndra. Like, I mean, there was one tournament I was playing literally mid lane, and that was in My Revenge, where I basically traveled to Cologne. It was like a fourth. I remember it was like a match for. What was it called? I don't know. I think I was against either. I don't remember who we were against, but it was like a German team, and they were like a bit popular at the time, innit? But yeah, I was playing mid back then, innit? And let me tell you, I was actually playing really well, like me myself, as a mid laner. But that's obviously a long time ago, right?
Yeah.
And what's it called? Like my perspective has obviously changed since then. So, you know,
So yeah, so you were playing mid back then. You started playing competitive properly as a support. So what made you kind of make that switch then?
actually, it's because me and my friend, who basically I played Dota with a lot, we both switched the league as well, and he also liked to play mid too. So sometimes we had to rock
Okay.
paper scissors for whoever gets mid lane, for example. And yeah, in the end, he won. I was like, fuck it, okay, we're gonna join a team. Let's just decide it right now. And we played rock paper scissors. I lost, obviously, as you know, I'm playing support now, but um. he was like kind of an RE player, but he was also
Okay.
playing like the brand, these kind of annoying champs as well. We used to play like brand Annie bot, for example, if we were
I've
playing
played
duo
that
queue.
before. I've played
Yeah,
that before.
it was fun, don't get me wrong. But that's the thing, right? League back then, you never really thought about meta or anything. It was just
Yeah.
what you're good at. And yeah, that was obviously back then, long ago. But basically, I used to play mid, and then after that, I switched to support. But then I actually played top lane for a bit, and then actually no, top lane was my initial role before long ago.
Okay.
And then I changed to mid. Then I went to AD for a bit, and then support. That was like the order. But that obviously I didn't play AD competitively. It was
Okay.
support and mid at
Yeah.
the time.
Fair enough. Fair enough. So it's weird that all this happened because you basically lost what is in theory a coin toss, right? But yeah, it worked out well, I guess, in the end. So yeah, back then you were competing with a different name as well. You were competing with the name Yero Star. Just explain to me
Yeah,
why you chose that name back then.
I mean my Dota name was Yero stuff.
Okay.
I don't really, I don't know. I was a kid, man. I was like what 13 years old, 12 years old when I played Dota, or 11 actually. Um, so it's like I was thinking, what's my favorite color? Yellow. And I thought, oh, it'd be funny if I was called Yero, haha. Because I don't know, 13-year-old me thought that was fucking hilarious. But anyway, I thought, you know what? Yarrow Star sounds like a good name. But then little did I know when I went to League of Legends, right?
Yellow Star.
I didn't know who Yellow Star was though.
Yeah, of
And
course. Yeah.
people always kept saying, "Oh my god, you're Yellow Star Smurf." And I'm like, who the fuck is Yellow Star? I'm just like, okay, I guess maybe they just read my name wrong, or maybe they're just saying I'm smurfing, like, oh, I'm
Yeah.
playing so well. So little did I know I was actually making a good name for Yellow Star. I didn't even realize that. But then one day I was like, wait, I looked at LCS back then and I saw this guy called Yellow Star. I was like, wait, he plays AD. I play support. That would be so funny if I played bot lane with that guy. Yellow Star, Yellow Star, haha.
Yeah.
And then sadly, he rose up to support because I think that was a split. There was one iteration that maybe I would have gotten tryouts to play with him maybe one day. But that's a story for another day because yeah, it's just non-disclosed information.
Okay.
But basically, this was like back then, right? A lot of people played with each other in terms of like just joining teams for like Challenger Series or go for lows or just random tournaments. So that was a long time though ago.
And talking about Challenger Series tournaments is kind of where you got your first, like, I guess break into a proper team with quotes. You know, Dignitas UK ended up picking you, and I guess it was a few of your friends up, and you were competing in Challenger Series then.
Yeah,
Obviously,
the thing is,
Dignitas have been around for a while, right? They're still around now.
yeah. The thing is, we initially played together, or it was like a UK team, right? In British tea time. That
Yeah.
was like where it actually like what's it called? Where we actually came together. And I think it was Nitrix Top, Impaler, who was one of the fuck, what was his, can't remember the name. Super Hot Crew, yes. It was Super Hot Crew that I was playing with him again. But basically he was like one of the UK junglers that I played before.
Okay.
Him mid was Cook My Sock and AD was it was kind of a mixture of players. There was players like Samwise 12. I don't know if you remember this name. I think it was Samwise 12.
Yeah,
He was like
Samwise 12, and then
he was
you.
a UK Ezreal player, and he was always known in high elo too. And I was like, you know what, this guy's probably good, and he's from the UK, so I thought, why not ask him?
Yeah.
But yeah, that was like when we actually first joined Dignitas together.
So how was
Actually, no.
Dignitas back then? Did it feel like you played with teams before, but like did this feel like your first like proper org, or did it just feel like another for fun team?
I mean, funny fact, it's just what's it called? It wasn't that. It was my first organization, like professional organization that I'd ever been part of, right?
Yeah.
And Odie is kind of like my dad in a way, because I I learned a lot from him. And obviously I was a bit of a brat, I would say. He would call my mum up if I was ever. I mean, okay, I will tell you, there was one iteration where it was scrims. Okay, I was fucking mad, and I was like, I'm not scrimming, and I left. Okay, and bro, he called my mum. He literally called my mum, and then I was like, what the fuck? This guy is so weird, you know?
Wow.
Like I literally left the game. I was like, I'm not playing. I don't care. Like I'm so fucking annoyed. Like we're griefing. We're doing so bad. Like because back then, I was very not toxic, or some would regard it as toxic. But for me, I really wanted to fucking win.
Yeah.
And if I felt like I was fucking gapping the enemy support back then a lot, because I was obviously, I was really good, right, at my role. But if I felt like people were trolling, I would get fucking mad, and I would be like, "What the fuck are you guys doing?"
Yeah.
And that obviously got the better of me because I didn't realize how to be a good teammate at the time. I'm very direct, as you may know.
Yeah.
But back then, I didn't have a filter on how direct I should be or how direct I could be with certain individuals. So it was kind of different, right? It was kind of like a reality check in a way because I realized that, this is not how I should behave.
Yeah. So let me get this right. Your mum and dad, they you didn't go to Oxford. They were really angry that you become a pro player, and the next thing they're getting calls from random people, basically telling you off. How did they kind of take that?
The thing is, my mom doesn't know English that well, right? So she
Okay.
didn't really understand anything anyway, so it's fine. Like, she was just wondering who that was.
Just some random stranger calling her up about her son.
Yeah, because obviously I had to give my parents, what's it called? My parents' number, right? Because I was technically a minor, like I was young for esports standards, because who the fuck is just I'm how do I say it? At the time, yeah, I was 18 or 19, right? But that's young, that I don't really have any life experience at that age.
Yeah.
I've literally all I've done in my whole life is just go to school, come back home, do my homework, and call it a day. You don't have the what's it called? Nothing back then was like I wasn't really prepared for anything. So for me, it was just much more like I had to understand my position at the time, and I kind of learned a lot from OD because he kind of taught me that this is how esports works. It's not like oh, you guys do scrims and then they get money and then that's all. Like it's not only about that. It's about actually how to win together.
Yeah.
And being on the same page. So that was kind of like the big one anyway on on how I came to be a better player in general.
And obviously, you became a better player. Then next thing, you're in the ULCS, right? With Super Hot Crew.
Yeah, after playing a lot of what's it called?
Challenger tournaments, yeah, a lot.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, right, the thing that I really liked about esports at the time was the LANs, honestly, because it's like it was so different, I never actually got like if I didn't have esports, I would have never been able to travel around not
Yeah.
just the world, but even to lands in like Telford, in Coventry, in like these kind of lands in Birmingham, even like for Insomnia, for example, right? Because that was like the only thing I ever heard about. Because obviously I'm from the UK, right? I
Yeah.
wasn't
Yeah.
really what's it called? I wasn't really knowledgeable on understanding what lands were, because at the time I was just I was a skinny Chinese nerd, you know, and I didn't really know anything about life. I was just fucking new. I was just excited. So
Yeah, and speaking about these like little tournaments, we have Insomnia, we have a few little tournaments like that in the UK. They've kind of died down over the last few years. After COVID, there's been a lot of controversy recently where there's just not enough teams to actually turn up and actually play these tournaments, even though there's a prize pool and stuff. But like orgs just aren't willing to put like the money into it.
yeah,
Why do you think, like, obviously besides COVID, why do you think, and the esports bubble kind of exploding, do you think there's like a reason that these kind of IRL tournaments in the UK are kind of dying? And do you think that like there really should be a resurgence of these?
personally, I just think League just isn't that big in the UK compared to other countries. Literally, you look at
Yeah,
France, you look at Spain, you look at Germany, you look at Poland. All of them understand how big League of Legends is. But in the UK, it feels like the target market is just not there for League. It's there for like Call of Duty. It's there for like
yeah,
FIFA. It's there for like anything else but League. And that's what I found always kind of weird, because even at the time, I always felt like League would get big. I kind of all in on it, right? I mean, that's why I'm a pro player. I kind of
yeah.
felt like it will last for a long time, not just a few years and then die, as a lot of people technically predicted and be like, haha, you did all that for nothing. So for me, it was just much more like I kind of wanted to commit to this because I was obviously passionate, right? But I can see how it could be bigger.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I mean, we all know everyone at school played like FIFA and Call of Duty and them kind of games. Yeah, but
Mhm.
I personally didn't know anyone at school that played League besides the one person that got me into
Yeah,
it. But
you ask
like you
someone in the
say,
street, you get laughed and
yeah.
then kicked and then stolen your phone and robbed. It's like,
But you said as well, like you said you're a skinny little Chinese kid. Like, what were you like? Do you feel like stage presence and stuff? Like competing on stage and ELCS and that kind of thing. Do you feel like you would have like had as much stage presence and stuff, or as confidence if you in real life if you didn't have this like experience in League?
definitely, like 100%. I would definitely not be who I am today if I
Okay.
didn't go through this whole journey. And obviously, I do get envious a bit sometimes, right? Of thinking, what would my life be without League? What if I had gone uni? Would it be the same? Would I be the same person right now? But I personally don't think so. I feel like I learned so much throughout my entire years of playing League, and I feel like I can apply that to everything I do, even outside of League. You know, I don't need to read 20 books or be told 50 lessons how to become a person, because I feel like you learn that stuff kind of along the way. You get through the hardships, right? Like
Yeah.
back then, do you think I have the luxury to play with like 144 FPS on my PC? Back then when I was going, what's it called? When I wanted to go pro, my PC was literally 10 FPS in fights
Wow.
and 30 FPS on a stable PC. That's basically how I played.
Yeah.
Not to mention sometimes I'll lag as well, right? A lot, because my parents sometimes like to stream Chinese TV, where they
Okay.
basically watch a stream of like Chinese TV broadcasted, from Hong Kong, and then internet back then wasn't exactly the best,
Mm.
so that was kind of like all the adversities that I had faced, and yet you know what? Here I am. You know, I feel like a lot of people are spoiled nowadays. Like it's so easy to get into teams now because like there are scouts, there are managers, there are
Yeah.
literally everything you can do to make yourself known. And back then, I felt like I had to do a lot of work myself. I worked a lot on my branding. I worked a lot on who I am. I worked a lot on getting to know people, because it's like I realized this was important. Otherwise, like no one knew who the fuck I was. Then why would they get me, right?
Yeah.
And I think I spent a lot of my time. I mean, it shows in my earlier years of posting, right? I used social media a lot because I felt like this is fun. This is who I am. This is what I really like to do. Obviously, nowadays I barely post much on Twitter because I feel like, I don't know, I just feel it's kind of not not as important. I don't know. For me, like back then, I would literally shit post anything. I'd just say, haha, I like cats. And then that would get like a lot of likes. But nowadays, I don't think I will ever do that because it's just I don't know. Maybe I've just grown up, right? I don't think I can think of that. So I don't know.
So do you feel like you said you sacrificed a lot to get here? You tried a lot on your brand. Is there anything that like you kind of regret what you've done in your league career in terms of? I know you probably say the like toxicity and stuff like that, or just having like a bad mindset at the start. But is there anything you feel like you could have done better to kind of reach the point you are today?
Um, I think being able to realize earlier that keeping myself healthy is a thing. Because back then, I really wished that when I was younger that I would go to the gym, that I would take care of myself more. But when I say that, I don't mean that as in like, oh, I have any injuries or anything like that. It was just more like those years when I was younger, I wish, I could have understood the importance of your own health more. Because obviously there are some players that had to retire due to
Yeah,
strains or arthritis
yeah,
or these kind of like carpal tunnel and these kind of things, right? Where actually it's a serious thing that can not only affect you in league, but in in your day-to-day life. And I just feel like if I had known that earlier, I think it would be so much better, honestly.
and is like the esports like physiotherapists and stuff. Have you had any experience with them in teams before then? People that are around there literally to help you through like scrims, if you're in person scrims and stuff as well, and just basically stop you fucking up your body. Have you had experience with people
Yeah.
like that?
I mean, don't get me wrong, I technically had like a sports psychologist in my earlier years, right? But I mean, it's really different for everyone. Some people find them really, really useful. Some don't really find much use of them. Some try to make it useful, but then actually don't actually get much value. And some just don't get anything from it. And for me personally, it's like at the beginning, I can understand why like a sports psychologist is there. It's kind of like someone you can run to, right? Someone you can basically get your frustration out because
Okay.
obviously sometimes just talking about your problems is already good enough.
Yeah, yeah,
You feel like you're being acknowledged. You feel like someone's able to listen to your problems that you feel you're having, that you feel that you can't talk to, your parents about it or your coach about it or whatever. You just feel like it's not there, and that's understandable. But I feel like I kind of have grown past the point of needing a sports psychologist.
okay,
I'm not saying that they're useless though. Don't get me wrong. Like they definitely have a good purpose, right? Provided it works for whoever they're talking to. But I personally, from my own experience, I never felt like I had like a insane sports psychologist that changed my life or made me realize the 20 hacks to getting better at League of Legends. Like no, that's not. I feel like for me it's just more of a self journey. But only I can say that, right? Because I'm the only one that has only experienced my journey. No one
yeah,
else. But
okay,
yeah.
yeah. That's interesting. I feel like you said, a lot of teams have these kind of resources, but it's a case of is it 100% useful for the players? Is it kind of like a placebo? That kind of thing. So it's interesting to hear. But yeah, so back on track to Super Hot Crew days and that kind of era anyway. So you're in the ULCS, have your first split. You do all right, get to playoffs, which obviously back then is pretty good.
Yeah.
Super Hot Crew, like your first playoffs, like you're on stage. How was that kind of first like proper LAN experience for you?
I mean, funny enough, it was actually the London Wembley Arena.
Oh, really?
Um,
That's pretty
yeah,
cool.
and that was the day I subbed in, right? I literally had tickets bought to sit in that arena, like literally to watch because that's when one of my
Wow.
friends he came from France, right? He was called Steve. He was also like he was basically a French he was a French top laner that I'd been playing with before.
Yeah.
Literally at DreamHack, like 1 week before I subbed in, we were at DreamHack in Sweden. And that was when I told you like I had no money, I couldn't even buy food, so it was fucking I was so sad. The 4 days. But anyway, I basically had tickets bought to go to that London Wembley Arena, and then I got asked like 2 days before that, hey, Kasing, oh, not Kasing at the time, it was Yarrow, sorry, or Ray as Impaler would call me because I was obviously I had already known him before. He asked me if
Yeah.
I could sub in because apparently their support had exams, right? So he couldn't play. And at the
Just didn't
time,
do a
the support
ULCS
was.
finals because he had exams.
I mean, it wasn't. No, it wasn't ES's finals. It was literally just one of the regular weeks, like opening weeks,
Ah,
and they
okay, okay,
basically
okay.
they did like a road show basically, and it
Yeah,
was in
yeah.
London. And I got asked if I could sub in, and you know what? I fucking enjoyed myself. Like honestly, I subbed in first time, and I was doing insane. Like my Nami was amazing, honestly. Like, I mean, I was kind of a Nami OTP back then, but no one really knows that, right? Like, because I have hidden accounts, so I have many accounts.
Well, everyone
But it's
knows
like,
now.
I mean, they will never know which one I am, or would they? But anyway, as I was saying, basically for my first game when I was on stage, I'm not gonna lie, my heart was really, really, really like racing. And I think I played really passive for the first 5 minutes because I was just so like, I was just focusing on not fucking up. Do you know what I mean? I don't want to be that
Yeah.
guy who comes in and dies instant and then like, okay,
Yeah,
that
yeah,
guy's
yeah.
talking shit. Not to mention it was in London. It was a London crowd, right? And when I played my first match, I won. So I was like, oh my god, like the feeling of winning and everyone cheering and stuff. That was a feeling I'll never forget.
Yeah.
In front of like 10,000 people, I think. I think it's 10,000 people in that arena. But yeah, after that, I was kind of addicted to like the adrenaline of, outperforming enemies in front of a stage
Yeah.
or in front of a crowd of people. And I think that's kind of what made me play League for so long. Because it was just so like addictive, I don't know. I can't describe the feeling.
And obviously, then, obvious more recently, COVID hits, everyone goes online. We're winning tournaments online. LEC finals is literally just in a scrim room. How is that for the players? Like, they've gone from having, like you say, these massive arenas of people screaming their name, shouting their name, to literally just winning a tournament, the biggest tournament in League in Europe anyway, and then just walking into the next room, being their scrim room. How's that got to like affect their passion and their goals?
I mean, that definitely, I would say, is a buff to players who have extreme anxiety. Because it's like when you're playing on a stage, it's really different compared to playing from the comfort of your own home, right?
Yeah.
Even from the comfort of your scrim room or whatever, it's really, really, really different or completely different because you have to be able to calm yourself in those situations and also still perform, which is what you kind of need to learn when you play at Worlds, for example, because every day, every time you play, you're on a stage, regardless of whether you like it or not. There will be people watching.
Mm.
Not to mention not just one group of people, but people online too from all sorts of regions. So this is the reason why, like, I felt people when they thought rookies were like the savior of EU, but this was, in my opinion, due to COVID, right? Of why they looked good. Because
Yeah. Yeah.
if you're a rookie, you're not playing on a stage, you don't really have that much pressure. The only one pressuring yourself is like you in your scrim room, right? But if you're playing there every day, it doesn't feel like anything different. You're just playing in. It's like you're just playing another scrim.
Yeah.
But I feel like the biggest difference back then was that you had to go inland and compete, in front of a crowd, which is completely different because you don't have the same sort of comfortability with your settings, with your keyboard, your mouse. Maybe the screen is too big or too wide or too low, or the chair is bad. Like there's so many things that can affect you and
Yeah.
put you off your game. So yeah, people just have it lucky at this time, I would say they're very, it's like a privilege to be able to start esports as a young kid right now, honestly.
Yeah, that's
Because it's
fair
like
enough.
it's just paved, the whole way to doing good is paid for you.
You have agents there, you have, a platform to show yourself, you have
Mhm.
scrim rooms, everything like that. I see why you say that. That's it. Yeah, interesting. But yeah, so Super Hot Crew goes. Next, you're into Gamers 2, or G2, as obviously it's known now. You're
Gamers.
playing with Perks. How was that?
Yeah.
Did you feel like
Uh,
back then he was going to be something big, or was he
I
just
mean,
another player?
I always had a feeling he would be big, just when, because I knew he had a drive, right? But he was a bit of
Yeah,
a flipper, like your limit tester. When I say limit tester, it's like the amount of times in solo queue I had him and he would just die and die and die and die. Like it was just ridiculous. But he's definitely grown up a lot, right? And actually, funny fact, for that specific, I think it was Worlds something. There was like a fuck. I'm trying to remember. I don't remember which year it was, but Pugs was basically meant to stay at my house, right?
okay.
For I think it was Worlds London, the quarterfinals Worlds.
2015, that will have been, I think.
I think it was 2015, right? Yeah, he was meant to stay at my place, and and then after we ended up like there was like a party after party at the hotel, and then everyone just stayed there or something, right? But that's kind of I remember playing with Perks, and he was really, really fun, to play with.
Yeah.
Just I knew he was a rookie. Technically I was like a bit of a rookie, but not so much a rookie that, that I don't know anything. Because he
Mm.
literally came out solo queue, he wasn't someone that was like known.
Yeah.
But I remember like that G2 roster, it was not the greatest. It was a bit hard, I would say. But I think I was playing with, I'm trying to remember, fuck. Was it Kobe that I
Yeah,
was
you
playing?
cover Eddie carry on obvious in jungle, and
Yeah,
then
no,
JWoww slash Beansy in top lane.
that was so long ago, man. I actually can't believe how time flew by, because I remember being in that villa back then in in Spain. Um,
Wait, Gamers
but
2 had a
man,
villa?
yeah, they had like a gaming house
Okay,
slash
okay.
villa,
How is
but
this different
it
to a
was
villa?
Ocelot. It was Ocelot's place though, innit?
Okay,
So
okay, okay.
yeah, they had like a maid or something, and she would make food. You know what? I'm going off topic. But no, it was like the good times, back then, because it's like esports for me back then was just traveling around the world,
Yeah,
and that for me was fucking cool,
yeah.
like really, really, really cool.
And in that Gamers 2, like, but it's weird to call them Gamers 2. G2 era, I'm going to start calling them G2 from now on. Obviously, you had Perks as mid lane, and then Ocelot Carlos did sub in for a few games in like the spring expansion for ULCS and stuff. Like, what was he to play with? Like, how was he?
I'm not gonna lie, he wasn't the greatest mid.
Okay.
Um, but I just remember we were playing a qualifying match, right? I think it was for the LCS relegations that we basically can qualify to, but then we lost. And I mean, man, there's so much stories. Holy shit. Um, but the jungler that we were playing with, Cole or Q,
Yeah.
he has passed away, I believe. Like
Yeah, yes, yes.
he some stuff happened where I think something mentally happened with him that kind of traumatized him. I don't know the reason for why he passed away, but I just know that he did. But one funny story is like I remember after that when we lost, he literally stood up, went to Carlos, and then said, "You're so fucking shit." Like that for me was just like, what the fuck, because it was so quiet in the room, no one said anything, and it was just like because everyone was just like like this, like they were kind of everyone was obviously down
Yeah.
basically and depressed. But when that happened, it was like I don't know, man. It was so awkward. I swear to God, only in esports would you ever get moments like this.
And that's the boss man, right?
Yes, yes, he was. It's like, how can you say that? He's the one who even got you in there. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know. It was so fucked.
That's mad. That's mad.
So many fucked up
Yeah.
things, man. But
But
then there was
obviously, like you say, now he's done everything at G2, and now he's kind of cancelled. Yeah, what are your thoughts on that? Then being cancelled and
I mean,
all that stuff.
and maybe I'm gonna get cancelled now if I say my opinion. Oh shit. But for me, it's just much more like I personally don't see that much wrong in terms of who you hang out with. I think maybe the fact that he posted as a video is what made it amplified. I think if he didn't post a video like that, no one will give a fuck. And I
Okay.
mean, literally, no one will care. That's how I see it anyway. It's like just because he's hanging out with that person, it doesn't mean he endorses the same values, as that person. That's the way I kind of look at it. Obviously, nowadays, you can obviously maybe make the case that maybe he is actually trying to become like him, right? With the things that he's posted and stuff. But the matter of fact is that if he had not made that video, people would not make this commotion,
Hmm. I mean,
But
people wouldn't
maybe
know, right? So
yeah, exactly. People wouldn't know, right? But maybe he was always been like this, but
yeah,
no one just realized,
yeah,
And I personally don't see, you know, I don't see a big problem in terms of who you hang out with, provided your intentions are still the same. You're not gonna become fucking Andrew Tate V2 just because you breathe the same air as him.
yeah,
You know what I mean? And that's kind of the vibe that I get, that this whole cancel culture, it happens so fucking fast because like, everyone has social media. There's obviously a lot of opinions and voices online because all it takes is just one comment and then you're there. People see it, regardless of whether it's a good opinion or a bad opinion, it will be noticed. You know, and I feel like it's kind of grown to the point where if you ever say something or show something bad that the public does not agree with, then say bye bye, like or be prepared to apologize.
Mm.
But I feel like his intention wasn't wrong. It's just, I guess, it just came out wrong with the way that everyone was like, everyone loves drama, innit?
Yeah. Do you think he
Everyone
maybe
was
stoked
fucking
the
trolling.
fire a bit by posting that video? Do you think he knew what was going to happen?
I mean, potentially yes, but for him, it's like the way he saw it, or how I would think of it if I was in his position, it's because he built up G2, right?
Yeah.
So for him, any publicity is good publicity, whether
Mm.
it's from esports, whether it's from outside of esports. He knew what he was getting into,
Yeah.
100%. The only difference is he didn't realize how much it would actually affect him right now. Obviously, I don't think he regrets it at all. I think he still thinks, you know what, he's still technically like associated with G2, even if it may not say that right now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And in the end, the whole world in a way knows who G2 are. Even if people say, "Oh, G2, G2 Esports, that's the guy that hung out with Andrew Tate," but this is
Yeah.
still publicity. People who knows who they are. It's like with NORD right now, people know who NORD are. Oh, that's the guy with WoW. Like, wow, that's amazing. But
Wait, we
that's
have
fine for
WoW?
me. And I obviously I really enjoy playing with WoW, right? That's the reason why I play with him. But a part of me always knew that, you know what, this our or me joining in a team with WoW, I would know already that he's gonna get a lot of attention.
Mm.
Because obviously he's a popular kid, right? But also he's, in my opinion, good. He's still a rookie as well, but he reminds me of me when I was younger, where all you did was just fuck around, and just be the meme in a way, but not meme in a way, in a bad way. Is that people know who he is and he's really funny, and a lot of people like him. He's very likable.
Yeah.
So it's kind of nice in a way that I'm playing with such a rookie talent, as well as I know that he's really motivated to learn. I've even had to ask one of his ex-coaches, like, how to talk to him, how he handled coaching him and how he was as a person, like, just because I feel like I can get to know well better. Yeah.
Okay. And do you feel like the team, obviously you've been scrimming together for a while now, do you feel like the team's bonded in a way that you're happy with?
Definitely, yeah. Because the thing is, okay, this team actually wanted to play together since the beginning of off-season started,
Okay.
but there were a lot of problems in terms of budgeting, NLC not becoming accredited, and blah 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 blah. And obviously, everyone had different offers. No joke. I had several offers from different places too, not just from NLC. But for me, I didn't prioritize money. Like, I like money. Don't get me wrong. You need money to live, guys. But I don't want to be delusional too, right? I also want to win. You don't just accept 1K extra euros just so you can be mid-placed in another league and not make EU Masters.
Yeah.
I want to join a roster that I felt I can make EU Masters with this and also make an impact. Because obviously I've only been top 8 for the past 4 times I've been. And I don't even feel like it's been me. I feel like every single time it's become EU Masters, I've worked fucking hard. I've always tried my best. And I always felt like there was always a reason out of my control that we lost. So for me, it's just I want a team that is really fucking motivated to win. Obviously, me as myself too, right? I'm not just gonna say this and then
Yeah.
be like, okay, guys, I'm done, and then see you next time like this. I will obviously try out as well, but this has always my motivation, right? Because I do believe I do belong in the LEC. I feel like I got scapegoated in one split with Excel, where I was kind of put on the spotlight that I'm meant to somehow be like the everything for the team, when I can only do so much. LEC is a harder league. Everyone is definitely improving every week. But if I feel like we're stagnating, I would obviously say my honest opinion. I'm not just gonna bullshit people and be like, okay, guys, don't worry, next split will be better, haha.
Yeah.
And I guess people just got a bit too annoyed or mad at the fact that I was willing to say the truth.
Yeah.
Because I'm very direct. I don't like to bullshit around. Don't get. I'm not here to just say, hey, you're fucking bad or whatever. I'd obviously say, hey, we're not good at this. We should do this better, or we should try to think of a way that we can play together like this. Blah blah blah. It's always about a team. I value the team a lot. If I want to disrespect the team, then I'll obviously lie, right? I'll be like a sheep, like, it's okay, guys. Next
Yeah.
time we better, bah, But I'm not like that. And in esports, it's kind of like, if you're not a sheep, then people take that as you trying to be more of a problem maker rather than a problem solver. So
Yeah, and you spent a lot of time in Excel, right? You spent about 2 years there, if I remember. Obviously,
Yeah, I
between
was.
LEC, UKLC, and then NLC, I guess, as well, right? Wasn't it? I think it was NLC as well.
Yeah. The thing is, like, I played 1 year in LEC, and then I played for 3 weeks, and then I was I was dropped to the other league, and then the reasoning was, oh, we just wanted to try things out, and
Oh,
people took that
that
as
chestnut.
oh, Kasing is so fucking bad that he doesn't deserve to be in LEC again. I literally made playoffs like my entire time I was there, every single fucking split.
Yeah.
The only time I didn't make it was once, and that was with Excel. So if that doesn't say anything else, I don't know what else to say, right?
Mm.
Because it's not like support was the only reason why a team loses. Like, it's not, that doesn't happen like that.
Yeah.
It's a fucking team game, you can't just blame it on one guy and that everyone else did fine because they're rookies or because they did this, so therefore they're fine. Like, no, you know, in a team, everyone has responsibility. Everyone should take accountability, not just one person. And I felt like because I was willing to take accountability, and no one else was, the like the people up higher ups, they took that as, oh, Kasing's the only one taking the blame, therefore it must be him then.
Yeah. Yeah. You're the only
You
one
know?
actually speaking up about it.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing though, right? Like, I don't know. I feel like if I had a regret, for example, it would be like, for example, joining Excel. Because if I didn't join it, then maybe another time I probably would still be in LEC right now.
Yeah. I was going to ask that. I was going to say, if, do you feel like if you didn't join them, like you said, you made playoffs every single time, do you think you'd still be in the LEC now? And like you said, probably, yeah.
Yeah, but that's the thing, right? Like, we all make choices based on the situation that we thought
Yeah.
was best. Don't get me wrong, like, it's not that I regret joining Excel to the point where I should have never done it, because in the end, that's only led me to where I am now, right? And maybe, you know what, maybe it would have gone well for 1 year, then after that I would have been kicked or some shit. I don't know. But I do know that what I can take away from the experience is that I'm much more understanding of how that became to fruition and kind of reading the room better, maybe.
Okay.
This is the way that I kind of look at life right now. It's not just, oh, I regret this, I can't live life now, I'm always a failure. No. Having this kind of self-pity is just basically asking to fail
Yeah.
already.
Yeah. Yeah. I guess it's like you live in, like, yeah, you live and you learn, I guess is what it is.
Hmm.
That's it. But yeah, so LEC, NLC, UKLC competing and all that stuff. There's one thing we didn't mention, which is your little escapades into North America with TSM. Uh, yeah, tell me about how that happened. How you ended up in TSM. It was a weird move, right?
Okay, so basically, okay, I'm gonna tell you it straight right now. Okay.
Okay.
At the time, they had one support in mind, which was Peekaboo. Peekaboo asked for 350k, and TSM said, no, I'm definitely not gonna pay that.
Hmm.
But let's try get Kasing as our second option. I said, I'm not sure, because at the time I wanted to join Vitality. That was where I ended up joining in the end.
Yeah.
Because obviously I wanted to play with Hyanan, who basically I'd come off a good year with in H2K. And I wanted to keep continuing playing with him. My other choices were like Fnatic and these other teams as well. I could have played with Reckless, for example, but I was like, I want to play with Hyanan.
Hmm.
So I wasn't sure about TSM. I was just like, I didn't even want to go NA anyway. But for me, it was just, you know what if I just played for IEM San Jose and see how I felt about that? Because I also wanted to see how it was like to play with Double Lift, for example.
Yeah.
And personally, like, I kind of expected things to be different playing in NA, but obviously a lot of things kind of triggered me, right? One, the solo queue was atrocious. And when I say that, I mean, like, I really didn't enjoy it there at all, but mainly because of the lag and also the mix of players. It's like in EU West, okay, you have OTPs, fine. And NA, you have OTPs. The difference is more like one OTP would feed and flame and all that shit. Another one would just go 0-10 and not say a word. But at least the one on EUS is trying. Do you get
Yeah.
what I mean?
Yeah. That's fair enough. Yeah.
And I just felt like it was very laid back in NA. I didn't like that. I felt like it was just, if everyone's so chill, why are
Mm.
they so chill with losing? Like,
Yeah.
it's not the kind of the mindset that I want
Especially when
to
people are
have.
asking for 350k, right?
I mean, that's what Peekaboo asked, right? So, I mean, I can say that with certainty. But I can't really talk about any other details in terms of specific numbers.
Yeah, fair
But
enough.
obviously, I still got something for obviously playing and subbing for TSM, which obviously they know. But they did ask me to join, and I declined,
Okay.
which is what they somehow said that apparently they didn't want me, which is bullshit. But obviously, like, it's my word against theirs, right? But
Yeah.
what do I have to lose from lying, Like I have literally no other reason. I literally joined Vitality after. I'm happy.
Yeah.
So it's like I just don't get why someone would try and lie about someone's declining them as an offer. Maybe they didn't want it to ruin their brand. Maybe they didn't want people to think, oh, Kasing declined us? Why? Why
Yeah.
would they decline the best NA org, whatever? So obviously not many people know that because TSM have their own subreddit, right? And remember back then they were saying that I was basically too shit to be there. But I back then was fucking insane.
Mm.
And I can say that with like I know how good I was. And I'm not even saying that with ego. Because 2015 was when I was peaking. Because that
Yeah.
was like the year that I felt I was fucking playing amazing. Because I remember just my mindset at that time, beautiful. It's like Handsommer right now. How Handsomer plays right now, honestly, is like how I was back then,
Okay.
but with mindset. And I think mindset is like probably the most important part about being a player. Doesn't matter about your age, doesn't matter where you come from, doesn't matter about anything else, but how hard do you actually want to win? Like how much do you want it rather? And you can tell when someone really is motivated to win, when someone really, 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 really wants to win. You can tell by their actions, everything they do in their whole day, you know, correlates to that or correlates to success. And you never find players like this in general because it's like everyone's fine with being complacent.
Yeah.
Everyone's fine being average because like, oh, let me just be better than this guy by 5 more CS. Yeah, that'll be fine. Let's call it a day. So
Do you feel like that's kind of like a difference between EU and NA then? Do you feel like there's more of that kind of like, all out mentality in Europe compared to NA?
I mean, maybe. I don't know. I just feel like in NA, food there is amazing. Like, I'm not gonna lie, the food was amazing there. Living conditions also seemed amazing there. Like, I don't know. I feel like in NA, it's like whatever you wanted, you got. Do you know what I mean? Whereas
Okay.
in Europe, it's like if we're sleeping in a shared room on a shit bed, that's enough for us
As
guys.
long as you're
Like,
winning.
as long as we have internet and a good PC,
Yeah.
that's all we need, guys. Fine, we're happy now. So
Yeah. And
yeah.
that TSM roster that you were on, Hornser, Svenskeren, Bjergs, and Doublelift, like that went on to being like one of the most dominant like NA rosters in history, right? Like, how did it? Because you were like the first person to play with that like, iteration, I think. So, like, how did it feel back then? Like, could you tell this was like a really fucking good team, or was it just like a load of players that were? It's kind of chaos at the start, and then you're like, holy crap, this actually worked out.
I mean, the only player I really, really, really valued, especially in that roster, was Bjergsen.
Okay.
I never played with him before. I just heard good things only about him, never bad. And I understood why after I played with him. I feel like he's very, very, very vocal. He gets a lot of flack for people calling him shit and washed up and stuff, but I personally don't even feel like he's performing terrible at all. I feel like a lot of people do give like they kind of judge Insta based on one headline or one game. Therefore, that guy must be terrible and everything, but it's not true.
Mm.
A lot of his games, I feel like it's influenced not only by him but by other teammates.
Yeah.
Mid lane is not a role that's 1v1. It's literally 1v4 at points, 1v5 even. But, that's just NA mentality, right? You have one
Mm.
loss, therefore you're shit. Which is same for me, right? One bad split equals your shit. And then bye. And then I get compared, like up from being top 3 support in Europe to being, not even considered good enough for LEC.
Mm.
Like for me, that doesn't just happen overnight. So obviously publicity brings a lot, right? It's like back then I was very overhyped. And when I say overhyped, I mean a lot of people knew I was upcoming, which is why, I'm like the equivalent of who's a really good support right now that you would say, top of your mind. Carrier? Carrier, like carrier level is like amazing, because everyone knows he's fucking good.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter. Like even if he has a bad game, even if he plays bad, everyone knows that this guy is good. That was kind of like how I felt at the time. I felt like no matter what happens, I was just confident in whatever I did. I just played the game, right? I just played the game how I thought was meant to be played.
Mm.
But The biggest difference is more like once it hits you, as in the spotlight goes into someone else, your confidence does get hit, especially when the public doesn't think you're good
Yeah.
enough, when the public kind of keeps saying that you're washed up or you're bad or whatever. Eventually, even if you try to ignore social media, it will eventually come back to you, you know?
Yeah.
And how you deal with it is what makes you a good or bad player. Because being able to control your emotions, being able to overcome hurdles like this is what ultimately is the test, right? Because if you let this shit break you down, then I would say you don't deserve to be called a great player then.
Yeah.
You know, you can be obviously a good player at times, but the great ones can actually overcome shit like this, you know?
Yeah, I guess the step one is not letting it affect you, right? So yeah. But yeah, that's interesting. That's interesting. It's yeah, like you said, you had a lot of different, ups in your time and downs in your time, even, downs when you felt like you were at the top and stuff like that. Yeah, you went to Spain for a bit as well, TSM, loads of different places, and eventually you end up in the NLC, right, with X7. You come back to your roots in the UK scene.
Yes, actually. How lovely, X7.
Talk to me about
Oh,
how you ended up at X7. The start. I think it was end of December 2021 or end of start of 2022, whatever. You were there for about a year, I think. Talk to me about how that kind of happened. Why you chose X7. Talk to me about the experience.
well, actually, I basically come off from winning the Superliga at the time with Giants. We actually came back from like a miracle run. We were one loss away from being out of playoffs.
Yeah, you came
And then we
sixth
went,
place in regular season. Yeah,
yeah, we came from sixth to first, which
yeah,
I believe came down to one, how well me and 113 played together, because support jungle was really important at the time, right?
yeah,
And eventually 113 actually started learning the game to what I expected of him, because that was my expectation after 1 month of playing with him. But because of Corona, he couldn't come to the house and blah blah blah. So it was obviously like much harder, right? If you can't like, I'm not joking, gaming house is really broken, or boot camps are broken, because it's like all the stuff that could be said, that will take like usually 2 to 3 days, right? Because you have to be on voice together, you have to find the right time, but you have to find the right mindset too, and all that shit. That can be solved literally in 10 seconds, 20 seconds in person. You know what I mean?
yeah,
And for me, I'm very direct with my points. I'm very easy to talk to in terms of like, you know, if I wanted to explain something to them, if they wanted to ever ask me a question, I'm very approachable. And this is something that I felt was hard with 113 because it's like I can't see his face. You know, I don't know how he's responding to certain things. Maybe I'll word certain phrases better or concepts so that he actually understands what I'm saying instead of just him saying, "Oh yeah, yeah, sure, sure," and then they don't actually understand what that means.
yeah,
Because a lot of people like to autopilot to saying, "Hey, yeah, do you understand? Yes, okay." And next thing happens again, same thing, same
yeah,
mistake,
yeah,
and you're just like, "What the fuck?" You know. But that's just rookies in general, right? Like you can never understand fully what they're thinking because maybe they're just agreeing to agree. Maybe they're just saying yes because they don't want you
Don't
to
want you to
think
be
that they're
mad. Yeah,
stupid. Yeah.
but
So
the next person that you had in obviously in X7 from 113, it definitely wasn't a rookie though, right? He was Haru.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, I mean, this is one of the main reasons why I wanted to join X7
Yeah,
because I felt like this roster I can go far with Jager top, Haru, Tempt, and Netta.
yeah. And
I
you, I
mean, I
mean,
felt like this roster
you
could
won
have
the
made.
NLC, right? So, but obviously
Yeah,
EU
yeah. I
Masters
mean,
was a different story, right?
I mean, winning LLC is one thing. Don't get me wrong, but
Yeah,
you must obviously where the prize is at. I'm pretty sure we should have gone deeper, in my honest opinion. I feel like we got a bit of an unlucky draw because we got LDLC like insta.
mm,
When I feel like if we had any other team, we on paper would have beaten them.
yeah.
I don't doubt that for a second. Um, but yeah, it is what it is, right? Obviously, that was another top 8. It looks like I'm cursed again. I don't know, man.
And then you had
I was
another
so
top eight
sad.
after that, right? Because you were in
Yeah,
with
exactly. I tried so
Chasey,
fucking hard. I
Chasey
tried so
Viking.
yeah.
Is it
JC Viking, Tempt,
Tempt
and
again?
Attila.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that split didn't go as well, right? I think you came third in the regular season. You had an MC at the start and then changed to Viking.
Yes. With MC, it was really hard because it was like one jungler. Oh, from the jungler we were playing with before, with Haru, he is very adaptable. I think that's the best way to say it, as well as understanding really well how the map states would usually be. Whereas MC, it took a bit of time to actually teach him that the game isn't only about efficient pathing anymore. It's
Okay.
always about laners first and then jungle, not jungle first, where laners are playing for the jungle. It doesn't work like that,
Hmm.
you know? the junglers, I mean, you see it right now, right? Like the meta has obviously changed, where junglers are playing for laners again, which is technically it's good for bot lane, for example, right? I'm happy because I want my jungler bot. But back then, he didn't really understand the concepts of why we needed him. Not that we just wanted him to go there so he would waste time.
Yeah, yeah.
And I think this is what was really different about Haru. Because Haru understood what he's giving, what he's taking, and what he's losing out on.
Mm.
Obviously, it's like League is all about pressure game, right? Like one guy has pressure from his lane. A very simple concept is that guy uses his pressure and moves it to another lane or another person, aka the jungler, and that jungler uses his pressure after to move it to another lane. It's like like zigzag, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's what made the spring iteration work really well. In summer, it was kind of like we didn't really have much choices because we weren't really on the same page in that regard, and it was just hard to be able to kind of win in the same formula that we had last split.
Yeah, yeah. And it was another top 8 EU Masters in the end as well.
Yeah, I mean the fact that I'm top 8 EU Masters twice, that's kind of weird already.
Yeah, at
I
least
wanted.
you had the
I really felt the top 4. Honestly,
yeah.
I was like this year I'm gonna make top 4, 100%. And I honestly felt like I was playing out of my mind. I was playing fucking amazing because I was like I can tell when I'm motivated and when I'm not motivated because I don't like to bullshit myself, right? I'm not just gonna tell you, hey, I was insane this split, blah blah. I know when I'm playing bad, like because people can see, right? It's not like, oh, I'm
Yeah.
lying out of my fucking mind. Like they can tell if someone's playing good or not. But it was just hard in that split. In the second
Yeah.
one, anyway.
And the final was a reverse sweep as well, I believe, right? It was the one where you were at LAN.
Ah,
Or not
yes, yes.
LAN, but you were in a room.
Oh my god, you just gave me some PTSD, CJ, when you just told me about this.
I
Oh
was
my
there,
god.
I was at that final.
Yeah, I got PTSD because it should have been 3-0.
Yeah.
But some XD stuff happened, and then we got tilted, and then there was a lot of problems. But
Fair
it's
enough.
fine. It's all in the past. I'm not even gonna. I kind of deleted that from my mind, from my memory.
Apologies for
I don't
bringing
even
it back up.
I don't even want to think about that shit anymore.
One last question about that roster, though. Do you feel like if you had Viking from the start, it would have been a different story?
I mean, it's not even that it's a different story. I think we would have ended up in EU Masters. The difference is more like Viking apparently got COVID like one day before a match,
Okay.
which is what actually was the biggest influence, I would say, because I don't know, it wasn't normal that Viking would underperform in my opinion. He could obviously play better, right? I mean, we can all see like he basically got caught before Herald pretty much 3 games in a row, and then that was all. Like back then, Herald was like the game-winning fucking objective. Whoever won that fight basically kind of had the pace of the game or had like the control of the game. And yeah, I don't know. I'm not here to only blame Viking though. It's just more like everyone could have done better, myself included.
Yeah, I mean it's a team
But
game at the end of the day, right? So, but yeah, so in that split as well, obviously, 2 TE Masters, for example, like you said. After that, X7 kind of poof disappear.
Yep.
2023 comes around. NORD Esports. Why? Why did you choose us?
I made the roster. I'm not gonna lie. Like I wanted to play the roster regardless.
Okay.
Not about NORD or anything. Literally, those 4 players I wanted to play with.
So it didn't really matter what org it was with, right?
Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, other orgs can probably tell you we were trying to look around, right, for
Yeah.
other orgs and whether they were willing to get us as a package deal, because I felt like this roster would make sense.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's kind of why I chose NORD.
So what made you choose? You said like you built this roster. Talk to me maybe just in 10 seconds quickly. What made you put all these players together? Why did you choose WoW? Why did you choose Akabana? Why did you choose Walleye? Why did you choose Fury as well? Like, what was it about these players quickly that like you wanted to play with?
I think the biggest common factor that we had all the same, maybe excluding WoW, but mainly for me, Akabane, Fury, and Woolite, is that we're kind of established players, right? That we've been playing in the scene for a long while. Obviously, me and Woolite being probably the longest. But we had like trials and stuff. Many of us for like LFL teams, for example, and it's just more like we're the brunt of the barrel, if you know what I mean. Like we basically didn't get chosen over some other prospects that might be rookies or that might
Okay.
just be cheaper alternatives or just might be like players that they think are better. And for me, it's just more like I like these players because I know that they're motivated, you know? It's
Yeah.
like if you don't get chosen for something, usually you want to prove them wrong, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I can tell that, for example, Woolite has this kind of drive to become insane. And it's kind of weird because like I've always had Woolite as like an opponent in all my entire life. I've always been against him or anything.
Yeah.
Never been on the same team as him. And obviously he's always been memed about his Tristana, right? Back then when he just jumped in and died and the game was over. But I'm just saying, right? Like people can change. But like I'm not the same player that can't play tanks because a lot of people seem to think that I'm the same player I was 7 years ago that I only played Janna, you know, but
Now you just play Yumi.
now I can play Yumi too, but exactly. And then another ego like Lulu, yeah, and Nami. But now, well, to be serious, right? It's like the public opinion is always based on who you were before for some reason,
Yeah.
and not just the public. Though, funny fact is, managers and people in positions of power believe this. You know, they don't even interview and understand how you would work in a team. What actually does the team need? Do they need 5 of the highest elo players in each row? Because that's what Vitality tried to do, and that team
Yeah.
definitely did not do well.
I was going to say
You
that.
know,
We all know that turned out. So
but that's the thing, right? Like everyone has different approaches,
yeah.
and I personally felt that you know what, I've always wanted to play with Akabane. I've played with him in solo queue. Every time I played with him in solo queue, we always had like the same idea of how to play the game, literally, and how we fight, how we 2v2, 3v3, and how we walk in solo queue. Like I just felt that it's just like a natural feeling, right? When you just know you will do well with this guy. And Akabane is someone I can say I fully trust, you know? He definitely has, how do I say it? He had like, in my opinion, really good year. He was top 4 E Masters.
Yeah.
And in my opinion, he got fucked over hard, you know? Top 4 E Masters and you don't even make it to an LFL team, let alone
Yeah.
even try out the LEC. That for me is already criminal. But obviously, like, everyone has different opinions, right? Some just don't think he's good. Some think he got carried. Some think he just isn't good enough as an individual. Fine. But the whole point of this team is that we would kind of want to prove people wrong that, you know what, we actually do deserve a place. Not only, you know, in LFL, but at least like a trial or whatever, you know? We don't deserve to be kind of ignored. And that's kind of like a big driving point for why I can see these players working well together.
So your whole like the tagline of this roster is "This is what you were missing," basically. This is
actually.
That's a good way to think of it. This is you can show everyone why, you know, make them regret it. Basically, that's what this is all about, right? Making them regret their decisions.
I mean, don't get me wrong. Like, for example, even what's his name? Like, WoW, for example, he's French, right? And he was in K-Corp.
Yeah.
And I get that people obviously see Cavachard as like insanely good. Don't get me wrong, Cavachard is fucking good. I've obviously played with him, man. I know Cavachard is good. But it's just like, if you're gonna get a French rookie in the LFL, why not get WoW, you know? And the fact that a lot of people don't even put in the effort to actually understand how to make a rookie better, basically. How to actually teach them, how to accommodate for them. Like us playing for him in our last NOC match just shows that, right? Like the fact that we put all our eggs in a basket for him shows that we have insane trust in him. Because what other team would literally play for their rookie top lane when you have players like me and Will, like for example, on bot lane? You know, it's like you have Fury in mid lane, you have Akabadi, you could even play for anyone else but the top laner. Usually people will put him on tanks, right? But I trust WoW, you know, I know that this guy wants to fucking win. Obviously, there will be times where he goes too deep or too ham or whatever, but I know that his intention is to win. Obviously, I can definitely help him in the future if I wanted to, right? I don't have to, but I know that it's the best for my teammates if I want to win. Because the game isn't only about my solo queue ranking anymore, you know? Even if I'm 1k LP, 1.5k LP, maybe it'll obviously be nice. Don't get me wrong, I probably will aim for that. But it's just more like the game has evolved a lot to being a team game, and you need everyone to be on the same page. And this includes, you know, every single person, including your fucking rookies, including everyone literally in every role. And I feel like the sooner that people grasp this concept, the better results you will see overall.
I guess it's the best environment as well for WoW. Like, you know, having so many experienced players around him. Like, for example, the bot lane, obviously you and Woolite, like you've played for so long, right? You know how to like handle these rookies, and you know how to kind of, you know how to play with them in game, right? So it's you know, you can make the player as good as possible in the shortest amount of time, right?
I mean, obviously that's the goal, right? Because technically we're only signed for like one split.
Yeah.
The whole idea behind this is that if we do find like, good offers, then thank God, because we definitely like no one joined NORD just because we're all here to abuse the salary. Haha. Because that's definitely not the case.
Yeah.
We're definitely here with the right intentions to win.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what matters, The fact that we even have an org that's willing to kind of take a chance on all of us together, that already shows a lot of commitment and faith in us. And obviously I appreciate that from NORD, right? And yeah, I just feel like you put like-minded individuals together, you're definitely gonna, cook something great.
I like that. I like that. That's a good end to the little segment on
Oh shit, has
on the
it been an
NORD
hour
area.
already?
Yeah.
Oh my god,
We've
I've
run a bit
spoken for
over
so long.
actually. We've got a few more questions. So I just want to
I'm sorry, guys.
There's a few questions from chat that I just want to read out. Then we'll wrap it up pretty quickly.
Okay.
It's been. I would love to talk to you for another hour, honestly, but we don't have too much time. So, questions from chat. We have one which is, what do you think is needed nowadays to get into LEC? How much of it is network and how much of it is actual skill?
I think it's 60% networking and 40% skill. And my reasoning for why I said those specific numbers is because the 60% is literally most of the time either you're on social media or you're just messaging people just to talk with them just so that they'll have your name in their mind. Whether it's like right place and right time, right? Maybe you main, let's say mid. And then, you know what, mid is kind of a stacked role, right? Don't get me wrong. But let's say one of the mid laners start fucking up. Maybe their Prime League mid laner goes up to LEC, and now they need a mid laner for their Prime League mid laner, for example. It's like, if you're at the right place at the right time, aka the 40% skill comes from being challenger, from being the top rated mid that doesn't have a team, you could be known as a rookie prospect. Maybe you're like, if you're lucky, you could be like Dajo basically.
I was going to mention Dio, yeah.
Like he, in my mind, I mean, I don't think he's insane in my opinion, but I just think he was literally at the right place at the right time, honestly. And I'm not saying he's terrible, right? The 40% skill is still there. Like, he's still good enough to be there,
Yeah.
But if you were to think, comparing Dajo to like Caps, for example, then it's another, it's another player. Like it feels like it's another role. Caps is playing the mid lane role. Dajo's playing half a mid lane role, But I'm not here to claim Dajo. I'm just using him as an example. I think the networking comes down to one, making it known who you are to the players or to the people in charge. Like being scouted early is obviously a nice thing, right? But playing for, Division 5, Plastic Cup League or whatever it is, that's not gonna get you anywhere. So you gotta be very treat your solo queue as if it's like your gym. You gotta really, really try hard in those games. And obviously don't be toxic.
Yeah. Don't be toxic, guys. Don't be toxic.
If you're toxic, people will know. People do talk, and it is an influencer.
Yeah.
Unless you're so fucking good that you being toxic is justified, then sure, go ahead, But that's just my number one tip.
Yeah, that's fair enough. Another question from chat. Have your parents, well, we know obviously your parents haven't supported, you too much in the gaming career, but, how are they now? Do they support you now? We spoke a bit about obviously the phone calls and stuff earlier, but, how do they feel about your gaming career now? That's a question actually from Fury's dad, who's in the chat. Obviously a big fan of Fury and a big supporter of Fury, which we love to see.
I mean, to be honest, my parents were definitely not on board at the beginning, but the fact that my dad has changed over the years, he started watching my matches. I think ever since I was in, I think it was Excel or Splice. He started, or Red Bulls actually, sorry. Red Bulls, then Splice, then Excel, yes. He started watching my matches since then, and he's actually genuinely excited, when I win, when I lose. Before that, he never really watched. He didn't watch when I went to Worlds, man. Can you believe it?
Really?
Bro, I killed Faker on mid with my Fresh,
Wow.
and then they banned it after that. Then I never got Fresh again.
I can't believe Kasing's dad didn't watch him at Worlds.
Yeah, unbelievable. He's watching me when I'm in the fucking depths of Gigalow fucking NOC. My bad, sorry.
Burger Cup.
I'm kidding. I'm sorry. I don't wanna shit talk NOC. NOC is my home. But in terms of my parents, they were not happy up until I started basically showing that I can make a living from this.
Yeah.
Because Chinese parents are a bit oh, you should finish school, you should finish blah blah blah, so you can find a job, so that you can have a living. You know, the whole point of school and blah 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 is so that you can find a job. But I was like, okay, but what if I just skip all the school stuff? I just get a
Get a
job.
job, yeah.
You know what? I've done my job. You know, I'm getting money. You know, and ever since I showed my mom that I had like a salary, she was like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
After that, you know, she doesn't pester me anymore about how useless of a son I am, because comparing myself to my cousins and other stuff, it gets a bit annoying, innit? It's like, I'm happy for my cousins, don't get me wrong, that they get to UCL, to Cambridge, to Oxford, but
have they
that's not who I am.
have they killed Faker at World? So that's the question.
Have they 1v1'd Uzi? That's the big question, because
There
only
you
one
go.
guy has done that, and that was me. I won 1v1 against Uzi, guys.
There we go.
Ay, ay, ay.
There we go. And yeah, one last question. We'll pick one more and then we'll end it. So someone's asking in chat. Sorry for my English, but do you have the opportunity to go far in E-Masters, and do you have pressure with the French fans?
I mean, the thing is, right, okay, with French fans, I'll answer that question first, okay?
Yeah.
With French fans, it's really fucking nice to see support, for sure. But the thing is, the support is for either WoW, Akabane, Woolite, okay, and not me, you know? Fury is like NLC, he's like me. We're both in the same boat. We don't get any support, and it's kind of sad, but I'm also happy as well, because it's like, I don't feel like I need this support to perform, you know?
Yeah.
For me, it's like,
The
I will
pressure's
do
kind
my
of off
job.
of you, right?
I mean, yeah, I can grieve. I know there's maybe some French would be like, oh, putain de merde, you know, like, what the fuck is that for? But I'm just saying, like, I'm happy enough that we're already getting a lot of recognition, right, from French fans and stuff. And it's really, really nice to see the support, especially for WoW, who's obviously a rookie, he's young, and I feel like the support actually helps him a lot more compared to someone like me. So I'm just really happy that everyone's like showing a lot of good positive vibes to WoW. Yeah.
That's fair enough. And the last part, EU Masters, how far do you think we can go?
Yes, number one.
Number one, beautiful.
Yes.
Straight up,
If
like
WoW,
it.
if WoW gets 5 top bans, then maybe top 2.
Okay. Fair enough.
5 bans and 1 picked away. I guess WoW's gonna play fucking Ornn.
I think the day we see WoW on Ornn is the day
Oh my
that
God.
the NLC will actually implode, to be fair. So yeah.
Guys, if WoW plays Ornn, Nico is fired, okay, guys? You heard that. Nico is fired.
Okay. I'll hold him and you to that, and I'll hold management to that one. So yeah. But yeah, any last final words before we wrap up? I'll let you, obviously, you can shout out your stream and stuff if you want. Go ahead. I'll give you 30 seconds to say whatever you want.
Wait, right now?
Yes.
Okay, guys. Well, as you may know, I stream a lot recently on Kasing LOL. I'll obviously appreciate those of you that don't know me that well, but I usually stream a lot of good support gameplay. There's not many supports that stream, so definitely a stream that you want to catch. And also, secondly, I do appreciate old fans that have known me for a long time, obviously. And I know that obviously past years haven't shown great results, right? Top 8, it's not really great. But I think this year is probably the one, or this split rather. And hopefully you guys can join me along the journey. But yeah, thank you very much, guys.
Perfect. Your Twitch is being spammed in the chat as well, which is very nice. Thank you, Michelle. Yeah, that is everything. We've covered everything from the start of Kasing in 2012, back when he was a little child, to right now, obviously in NORD and the X7 days and stuff. So yeah, it's been great. It's great to speak to you. Thank you very much for coming on. Yeah, next week we will be back as well with another guest. Not sure who it'll be yet. If you've got any recommendations, stick it in the chat. Thank you everyone for watching, and yeah, have a good rest of your night. Thank you, Kasing.
Yeah, no worries. Pleasure to have me here. Yes. Very, very good.
See you later.
Anyway, take it, guys.